Hello and welcome back to another Doctor Who action figure review. In today's review I'm taking a look at the first of a number of exclusive releases to B&M for 2025, kicking off with the 15th Doctor's Tardis, complete with lights, sound effects and of course a cardboard background. A lot of fans have been very aware that this Tardis has been on the way to B&M, but I think all of us were surprised to see it pop up last week, given that this product hadn't even been officially announced yet. But as always, a Tardis is a Tardis. Is it really worth braving B&M to pick up this release? Let's find out, shall we? So the packaging for the 15th Doctor's Tardis is actually really lovely. It's something that looked great on the shelf and I actually wanted to buy it. And that is because they've actually used a plastic window like the Character Options online exclusives, but it doesn't look like a glorified Easter egg. The window also extends around to the side of the box, which is nice, and the result, it looks a lot less cheap, it's less susceptible to damage. I much prefer this design. The title is towards the bottom, as I was describing the TARDIS as an electronic vehicle. There's a little graphic of the TARDIS off to the side. Just above this it states that it's from the 15th Doctor era, from the 5.5 collector series, and the lights and sounds are back with this one, which is always nice. Triangular box out at the top with the Doctor Who logo. It kind of obscures the product though, to be honest. At the top it's very keen to advertise the new TARDIS which is present within this box, which is arguably the biggest selling point. All of your company details and electronic instructions are present at the bottom. The side of the box is rather modern and simplistic. I do like the contrast though between the white and the purple, it's very pretty. It fits in very well with the 15th Doctor and Ruby action figures that have been released previously. None of the Doctor Who logo is present on the lid, just in case you forgot what TV show you're probably spending too much money on. And the back of the box repeats the same details. Your barcode, your contents, as well as the official Doctor Who merch sticker. And as per, there's a little write-up about the TARDIS. It might have been nice to have an image or two like Sutek crouching over the top, that would have been cool. It's a great piece to display boxed. This is the treatment that the 6th Doctor and TARDIS from the Ultimate Adventure should have had. It's just miles better. The TARDIS itself comes packaged in a corrugated coffin. Remember, there is an additional backdrop, so don't bin that. And then you'll have to buy another. I mean, character will love you, but you'll probably find it quite frustrating. It even comes wrapped in tissue, which is rather quaint and posh for character. And remember, because it is electronic, it is fastened in via screws towards the bottom of the base. The background is pink and purple with this exploding star in the middle. Looks a little bit too similar to the regeneration scene at the end of the Reality War, and yes, I am still annoyed about that. So here we have the 15th Doctor's TARDIS, and it's an odd one, isn't it? Because it's not really the 15th Doctor's TARDIS, it's the classic TARDIS exterior box painted to look like the modern design. Designed by R. Jones. I think if you squint, this TARDIS definitely looks the part, but when you compare it to the on-screen prop, you realise all of the differences and dimensionally how incorrect this box is. I'm sure there are many people out there who could pull up the exact schematics, but to put it simply of how out of proportion this box is, it has the classic appearance, so it's right in that regard, but it should sort of have the dimensions of the Ed Thomas prop. So we're just going to need to put all actual TV accuracy aside for this review and see how they've attempted to make the Yardley Jones 80s TARDIS looks somewhat similar to what's seen on screen within the 2020s. So delving right in there immediately with a comparison to the previously released 13th Doctor TARDIS from 2020, this is a lighter blue. If anything, the latest 15th Doctor TARDIS is more akin to the 60s darker blue Metropolitan Police box. I think this is an improvement. It looks quite nice, but it always depends on how you like this particular version of TARDIS. It looks a different blue all the time. I have at least tried to amend the sculpt to make it look more 2020s specific, so we've seen debut with the 13th Doctor TARDIS, an adjusted, more modern pull-to-open panel with handle towards the left-hand side, as well as the debut of a stacked roof, which was a new sculpt, as well as a new lantern, which is arguably the biggest convincing point for this particular police box. And as you would expect, all of that has been carried across to the 2025 release. But other than that, what else have we got small detail-wise which makes this TARDIS unique? Like 13's TARDIS, the window frames are a shiny silver rather than blue. This certainly stands out a lot from the darker blue base. Bottom pins, however, in the corners do have that pebble dash effect. It's completely inaccurate within the 13th Doctor era. It had this corrugated lined effect. And then in 15's era, depending on how it was lit, it looked quite smooth panelling-wise. I think the silver helps it look the part, I guess. As we move down, you have your usual smaller details. The handle pokes out in a rather curved fashion. This is well painted and keeps within the lines. There is a slightly darkened wash over the top as well. Just above this we have the lock. Same classic detailing on that with the dot in the centre. I do like the pull to open sign in the way that it was initially changed in 2020. Continuation of that grained wood effect around the sides, framing the central sticker. Lettering is rather sharply detailed. It's nicely stuck on as well. It's not too shabby. The painting of the silver handle is pretty decent. The police public hall box signage is another one of the major giveaways giveaways with this TARDIS that it isn't the one as seen on TV, because it is completely out of shape. Much like the urgent calls sticker, I think the signage is rather well printed. For the most part it is stuck in the right place, although I have seen a few where it billows up slightly towards the end where it hasn't quite fit the sculpt, so do be warned when check that you get one that has been stuck on correctly. But I think it works for the scale. As with the initial Geordie box, of course this entire sign section is way too long. The ending wooden bits should be much longer, but again, sculpting wise this can't be helped. Design of the different police public call boxes is something that Doctor Who fans are very particular about, and frustratingly when things are off you can quite easily tell because the box looks out of proportion, but in this particular circumstance it's either this or nothing, which is a shame. I mean, it could have been worse. They could have painted on a smaller police public call box signage. That would have been hideous. Of course, they would never paint on specific details in the hope that it looks the part. And as for the rest of the police box, it's very familiar territory that we have visited time and time again. It's the same sculpt. We have a darkened wash over the top, which I think certainly gives the box a little bit of personality. And again, we have that wood grain effect as well, which helps with the texturing. Like 13's TARDIS, the darkened wash really helps collect in the grooves of the wooden panels, so they stand out a little bit more, which is good. Notable collections of this black paint app include running down the centre here. It is quite higgledy-piggledy and random, makes the box look more natural. Oddly, under these lights, I think the black wash certainly stands out a lot more. Also, I do like the blue which has been used. I think a lighter blue wash over the top, almost a marbled, shiny effect, would have been more akin to what's on screen. Bizarrely, in some shots, this TARDIS even looks a little bit glossy, so maybe that slightly wet look or plasticky look that some B&M exclusives have had in the past would have came in handy here. Or even a slightly splotchy effect. In some photos, even the windows have a slight yellowy hue. Would that have been nice to set this TARDIS apart from the others, or would it look too classic? The back of the box is just the same to all of the other sides, the windows, that wood grain effect. Traditional, very ugly speaker grille, but it can't be helped. And your battery compartment hidden away at the bottom. I mean, at least it's electric this time, so it does at least serve a purpose in its ugliness, unlike some of the previous B&M TARDISes. Tilting the TARDIS upside down, of course all the nice design stuff stops. Standard company information is stamped on the base, and your standard on and off switch. The activator is just to the side of this. I'm sure absolutely none of you are going to be surprised by the sound that you're about to hear, so the first sound effect. Don't worry, I'm not going to play the whole thing, you've probably heard it way too many times already. As always, for a while after the initial materialisation sound effect, the lantern continues to flash. It's a very vibrant blue, which is quite unique. It stands out, but it is like the 13th Doctor box released previously. And once you've finished being hypnotised by that, the TARDIS of course can dematerialise with your usual sound effect. And in case you want to check if there's any more hidden sound effects, you can do what I did when opening it from the box, and then concluding there isn't. Which is of course a hark back to the mid-2000s, when your usual flight control TARDISes could do this. Ah, they were the days. Don't even get me started on the other bit of nostalgia. I miss those days. Meanwhile, back with our current TARDIS. The base of this TARDIS is the larger design, originally debuted within the Forbidden Planet exclusive range many years ago. This continues the wood grain effect as seen throughout the rest of the box. There is a subtle wash over the top as well. We haven't actually seen this sculpt in quite a number of years, so it's nice to see it back. Dimensionally, yes, this TARDIS is completely wrong anyway, but I do think that larger base at least helps a little bit. One of the most unique characteristics of the R. Jones 13, 14 and 15th Doctor TARDIS is the little nodules that are present at the bottom and top of the TARDIS. You know the drill by now, obviously this isn't present sculpting wise. Instead they have done this, as well as this. I'm not even joking when I say that I'm actually surprised that they've done this on all of the sides. I thought they would have just done it on the front to make it look like they have tried to put the design on but then forgot to do it on the rest. No, it is there. It looks like a Sharpie has been took to this TARDIS and they've drew a black line. When I first seen this I thought I would be ripping into this TARDIS a lot more. It doesn't look great. It doesn't look as bad in person as it looks on camera. Although then again, on some corners maybe it does. For example, on this side it does look like it has been smudged. I appreciate that they've tried. I suppose you could say that is an improvement on the 13th Doctor TARDIS, but then it's also the question of does it look worse with them? As I mentioned at the very top of this review, this TARDIS is never going to be perfect, so was there even any point in bothering? But it doesn't stand out much, which I think is definitely a good thing. Let's face it, there is only one thing which is going to fix this, and it's a saw aimed at a particular angle. So if you're a fan of customising, there you go, that's a job for you. You may not have internal lights and sounds, but you do have something worth celebrating. It's a backdrop for the first time in years. It's feel really unusual having something this now within the B&M exclusive line. Of course, the white design in all of its glory is incredibly welcome. It looks very nice. It makes the Tardis feel like it has a bit more personality. Time rotor in the centre. Do like how the walls extend around the sides? Helps that bigger on the inside illusion, doesn't it? Although sadly, this isn't actually fixed in place, it's just a piece of card. Whilst this is helpful to remove it, it doesn't look as effective as Tardis's which came before. The backdrop doesn't feel at one with the prop, if that makes sense. Especially towards the bottom. It's just the same blue to the rest of the box. I think it would have been nice if this was white or grey to be consistent with the actual Tardis interior. That said, it would have been a bit awkward if you wanted to display the 13th Doctor backdrop instead, as a white base would stand out quite a lot with that Tardis background. Moving on from the 15th Doctor era TARDIS backdrop back to one of the previous incarnations. Oh, it's like Christmas, but you bought it yourself, and there's no Santa or family arguments. I have 13's TARDIS, and you know, I really respect them for doing this. It is a really lovely touch. It might indeed be a bizarre console, but it stands out a lot. I love the ambery glow, all of the weird crystal buttresses going up towards the top, and the blue lanterns. Backing card is scored, it can bend upwards. Space it is. If you are a collector and have the previous 13th Doctor TARDIS, it's like a present that's 5 years in the making, as finally you can give your 2020 TARDIS an actual background. I mean, it's also inconsistency at its finest, because with the Character Options Online exclusive Fugitive Doctor set, you needed to destroy the packaging for your TARDIS to have a background. I scanned mine in. So I must admit, all of these TARDISes do look really cool together with their respective consoles. I don't want to be too excited about it, because at the same time, it's a bare minimum, and something of which that we just haven't had for multiple years on end. Let's face it, if our current 15th Doctor TARDIS didn't have that background, there really wouldn't be much going for it. At all. That's enough background chatter. As always, one of the doors is manual, you need to pull it close, and the other one, you can use the button underneath. This TARDIS roof was made especially for the 13th Doctor TARDIS, so at least it looks more like what is seen on screen. The roof has this lovely stacked appearance. Quite a bizarre design, because I think the roof has almost a concrete plaster effect rather than a wood grain. Almost has a frosted effect. The occasional lumps here and there. Of course, this is also the same blue to the rest of the TARDIS. It is darker than the previous version, but I think it looks rather smart. Sides of the roof also have these little corner nodules. The lantern is probably the best thing about this TARDIS, because it's actually sculpted to look somewhat like what is seen on screen. Frame has also been neatly painted a darker blue, so that's nice, along with that rounded lid. Central light is clear, and I love that curved and lined effect within. Simple reality is that despite this being an official product, it will always be a placeholder. It will never be a proper 15th Doctor TARDIS, because it is completely the wrong shape. Do know that a proper, more accurate version was prototyped, although the chances of this ever seeing the light of day is very, very slim. But I do appreciate some of the changes which have been made, like the inclusion of that backdrop to make it more era-specific. It's nice of them to add in the additional 13th Doctor era TARDIS backdrop, but if anything, I see it as compensation for us never getting the proper TARDIS. Markets have changed, everything seems generally more difficult, especially for the B&M exclusive line, and given that that 2020 TARDIS has now gone on to be quite rare, it's nice to have a new opportunity to buy it again. Especially because the Arwell Jones prop now applies to multiple incarnations of the Doctor. And if you are someone who likes to have all of their TARDISes lined up on the shelf with the accompanying Doctor next to them, then this is perfect for you. It acts as a placeholder, it will never be the proper thing, it will never look like the proper thing, and it was never going to look like the proper thing, because the sculpt simply holds it back, and it always will. Do like the colour changes which have been made, although personally I would have probably added a few splotches of lighter blue in there, but that's down to personal preference, and maybe a slight change to the windows. It's alright, it's passable, but it was never ever going to be great. Though that a few people have said it would have been nice for them to bung in a variant of the 15th Doctor action figure, I feel like that is still a very recent release, and they're probably saving variants for him to do later on down the line and probably charge 20 quid for them. It's absolutely passable, it looks the part, if you squint, the colouring is nice, but if you want a really accurate TARDIS prop, then you're probably going to have to make your own. So thank you very much for watching this review, I really hope you have enjoyed it. Do of course stay tuned on The Host Productions for regular reviews of the latest Doctor Who merchandise releases. Have a nice day, I shall see you all next time.